Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session about how to create a startup for international students. Thank you very much for your time in joining and attending this panel session. And before we start, I would like to make sure that can all the panel members hear me clearly? If
Yeah.
yes, yeah, super, great. Okay, I'm gonna introduce myself. Hi, my name is Suchi, and I'm a brand specialist at Keystone Education Group, and I will be your moderator throughout the session today. We are very honored to be given the opportunity to get close and personal with our amazing panel members here that they're already available that will share their expertise in the startup environment. But before we going too far, I'll give you the information that this meeting will be recorded, and I would like to introduce you first to the organizer of this event. It's Keystone Education's Group. So this session is a part of Global Study Abroad Fair 2022, which is held by Keystone Education Group. We are the leading organization in higher education marketing and recruitment, which our mission is to help students make one of the most important decisions in their life, to find the right higher education for them. And we believe that studying a degree abroad can provide students endless opportunities to experience diverse cultures, increase international skill set, and cultivate a whole new perspective on the world. That's why we want to inspire people to take action and direct people of how they can achieve their ambitions. Yeah, Keystone sites, we have around 110 million unique visitors each year, 33 sites languages, and 5,500 paying customers, with 77 of the top universities in the world working with Keystone. In short, I would say that Keystone is the leading online resource for people seeking the best educational path for them. And here is one of our sites, it's educations.com. And in our site, you can find loads of study abroad resources that could help you plan your aim to study abroad, such as you can search the right program or the program that suits your interest, along with the institution that offers them, very specific to the level of where they're located, which country, which city that you are interested in studying in. You can also find guides as well as country guides, funding guides, scholarship guides, study abroad guides. And last month, we just released our top 10 study abroad destination 2022, which you can read on our website. Yes, I think that's all for the company's introduction. And now I'm extremely excited to welcome our three amazing panel members here. We have first Donnie SC Lygonis. Hi, Donnie.
Hi there.
Yeah, from KTH Innovation and also a business coach. We have Ylva Lidin as well. Hi, Ylva. Yeah, she's from VentureLab by Lund University. And last we have Fajar, Sidik, Abdullah, Kelana. Hi, Fajar.
Hi.
Hi, so Fajar is a Banoo Indonesia founder and also a master's student in KTH. So he's an international student as well. So we kind of have the dynamic here from the student perspective and also from the institution perspective. It's going to be great. So I think we can start first from introducing yourself. We can start first from Donnie, I think.
Sure. Happy to be here. My name is Donnie. I work at KTH, which is the biggest tech university in Sweden, as an innovation strategist and as a business coach, specifically at KTH Innovation, which is the innovation support department for anybody who studies, does research, or works at the university. I've been doing this for since we started almost. We actually had our 15th birthday 2 weeks ago for KTH Innovation. And apart from that, I've been working with my own projects or helping other people start projects as an entrepreneur for the last 25 years or so.
Super. Thank you, Donnie. That's amazing. 25 years. Cool. Okay, we'll go. Yeah.
I couldn't say how long, but yeah, I started my first own company 27 years ago.
27 years ago. Perfect. Okay, we'll go to Ylva first. Ylva, you can introduce yourself now.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Ylva and I'm the Executive Director at VentureLab, which is the startup hub and incubator for all students at Lund University. And we're a part of LU Innovation that works pretty similarly as KTH Innovation. We are here to support students' ideas and help them to build startups from those ideas. Yeah.
Nice. Maybe you can mention how many students that are there right now, approximately.
We had a little bit of a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at statistically our numbers, they went down 2020 and 2021. However, we did this semester have a record of how many who applied for our startup program, which is the first program you go through at VentureLab to just understand what a startup actually is. So we had 42 startups that's interested in starting their journey with us this semester, and that's really, really exciting.
Super. Okay, thank you. Fajar, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, okay. Hi everyone, my name is Fajar Sidik Kelana. You can call me Fajar. I'm a master's student in KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Innovation Management and Product Development. And I'm also the founder of Banoo Indonesia. It is a startup that developed an affordable and advanced technology about a microbial generator. It's an aerator for aquaculture, and our technology have been proved to increase the aquaculture yield for Indonesian fish farmer up to 40%. Basically, it starts from the social project, and we are now developing it to the business. And last year, I also applied to KTH Innovation, Donnie, but we are not accepted, unfortunately, because it's only me who are from KTH. And I remember that KTH Innovation told us that it should be like more than 2/3 of the founder is from KTH, so it's not possible for us to apply to KTH Innovations. But I very interesting to collaborate with KTH Innovation in the future if there's any other opportunity, I think.
Nice. You got a pitch session as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's great. Okay. We can start the panel members. I would just say that I will read the questions and I'll just randomly choose which one of you to answer. Okay. So this is like our first discussion. Maybe you can share on how is your experience in seeing the possibility of an international student starting a startup. Any unique experiences so far? Maybe Ylva first.
Yes, because I think that I would like to start that discussion with actually an anecdote that for us here at LU and VentureLab, most of our startups are international students. And it's a cultural discussion, I think, sometimes, how you view the startup world in different parts of the world, where we have, and this is my experience that I'm talking from, I just want to be clear about that, that we see that we have a lot harder to reach the Swedish students when it comes to our message of entrepreneurship and innovation than the international students that basically come on their own. We actually have received some notes from the application offices here at Lund University telling us that there are several international students that apply for Lund University because of VentureLab. And that does not happen with the Swedish students. And I think that's rather important for us to reflect a little bit on when it comes to Swedish students, but it's really exciting as well, because what that means for us is that our community becomes extremely diverse with different background and different experiences. And we did look at our startup recently, and we know that since 2009, around 25% of all startups that's gone through our incubator continue to be active 5 years after they left us. And most of them, we also know, are international students. So what we do is really important, and it's something that attracts international students to Sweden.
Super. Do the ones that stays after the university, they are still staying in Sweden, or then they go back to their own country and continue the startups right there?
That is both, I would say. So we have several students that actually want to have an idea that they already plan on continuing in their home country, but they get the support from us and then they go home. But several stay here in Sweden as well. And we have had several just in the past years that decided to stay in Sweden due to the fact that their product or their service that they have started here at VentureLab gained a lot of traction in the market here in Sweden. So they wanted to capitalize on that opportunity, which is actually a lot of fun to follow afterwards.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I'll move over to Donnie. Do you also experience the same thing, like when it comes to proportion of local and international students then? It happens also in KTH, or?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I can just echo what Ylva said. It's I'm not nodding here as she's talking, because we see exactly the same thing. And I think there's a number of factors that play into that. I mean, Ylva, you mentioned a part of some things yourself. When we have been, I mean, I was part of an international tour called Study in Sweden when, 8 universities, Lund as well, and KTH, we were, traveling around the world promoting Sweden as a place to study. And we were in India and in Brazil and other countries. And one of the, I think, key messages was, to everybody was, come to Sweden because here's where you can actually make things happen. That in combination with that Sweden as a country has become known as a startup nation these days. I mean, the last 15 years has changed a lot when it comes to how Sweden is perceived as well as a startup nation. And I'd say that in general, I'm not talking about KTH or Lund or any other brand here, but in general, if you want to start something, come to Sweden, because the infrastructure is in place. Everybody knows what you're talking about. It's not a foreign thing to start talking about incubators. And then if you go to any bigger, I mean, like Lund, which is where you have a concentration of people, and you have a high sort of concentration of both students and academia and startup hubs and incubators in a very small space. It's like, I'm not going to do the Silicon Valley comparison, but you have a number of people in a small space, and you walk around and you meet people and you talk about, and it's in the air. Stockholm is the same thing. I make the joke, you can't throw an electric scooter in Stockholm without hitting an incubator. It's crazy. Everywhere you walk around, there's an incubator, an accelerator, or a startup hub, or somebody helping you. Somebody wants the amount of support and help, and that's in general. And then when it comes to KTH specifically, I have exactly the same experience as Ylva. Mostly also because I think 2 factors. The people who come here for a master's or a 2-year, more of a focused 2-year period, they come here to study something and achieve something, and I have a different kind of goal, as opposed to I've applied to an engineering education which will take 5 or 6 years to become an engineer, and during that education, maybe I could do a startup. Different kind of mindset coming in there. And also, to be honest, when you come into a foreign country as an international student, you don't have the social network and the social fabric and all of the activities that people who might apply to KTH or Lund as a Swede, that they've grown up around Lund, when they go home and they spend time with their friends. You don't have anything to do. So you reach out to new networks and you reach out to new people and you socialize in new communities. And a lot of it that is, bubbling on campus is about innovation and startups and entrepreneurship and things like that. And so and you have time over. Also, you have time on your hands. So I think that a lot of factors contribute to, I see exactly the same thing, a very, very high influx of international students. And we welcome that as well. And we always welcome everyone who is at campus to come to us with ideas and join a team or start a team or whatever, because I think it's just as cool, because exactly as Ylva said, Sweden has people coming into Sweden because here has happened. KTH and Lund have people coming to the universities because they've heard about us and what we do. And that is, for me, it's sort of perfect. It's what we set out to do 15 years ago, was to have people apply because they'd heard of us. So yes, I have loads of experiences, and I'm actually sorry to hear about Fajar, that I think it must be a misunderstanding there, but that, you know, you weren't, maybe it was one of the programs you applied for that you didn't get into, but to the support you can always get anyway.
Yeah. Super answer, I would say, Donnie. It's like
You just say the same.
yeah. Yeah, like international students watching here.
Ylva's word, so
Yeah, it's for international students watching right now, like consider Sweden, because it's one of the best country that you can start your startup with. And I would ask Fajar now, was also that become one of your consideration before choosing to study to Sweden?
Yeah, of course. That's why the reason I chose Sweden and I chose KTH, because first I searched in the internet who is the best country in innovation, and I see that in the Global Innovation Index, Sweden is #2 after Switzerland, and that's one of the reasons. And I see there's a lot of university in Sweden that have a good innovation ecosystem, like KTH, Lund, and the other university, and that's the main reason I applied to Sweden and KTH. And I think because I'm from Indonesia and I already make a startup in Indonesia, it's become more like my first reason I applied to Sweden and KTH.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you confirm that as well.
Yeah.
That is an attraction there. I think we can move to the next question now. You have mentioned Ylva and Donnie, you have mentioned some of the support over to international students for the creation of the business startup in your area. Maybe you can mention a little bit more specific in the supports as well. Maybe
Sure.
Donnie can start now. Yeah, sure.
Okay, I can start.
Mhm.
Just to for clarity's sake, I mean,
Yeah.
we in that Ylva works with a student organization that works with Lund University Innovation, which is, you know, KTH Innovation, and we have, you know, at the KTH we also have the student organizations that work with entrepreneurship and innovation. They don't have such a developed program as Ylva has, but just so we clarify that there's a kind of working on the same things, but from different ways in. Our offer to anybody that, as I said, studies, does research, or works at KTH at any time you are here, is that you can come here, meet a business coach, and then we have a process that runs as long as you need help. Meeting your business coach, helping you with your idea. And then on top of that, we've built a number of programs to help you forward. If you're in a startup, you can apply for the pre-incubation program. If you're a researcher, we have programs for that as well. Part of what we do is startups, and then we have programs for that. But when it comes to the support for international students, everything from, if you don't have an idea, we always encourage everybody to, well, if you're here for 2 years and you want to learn about startups, then join a startup. We always have hundreds of projects that are looking for people. So there's, you know, the first sort of step in is always, why don't I join a startup that's on campus? Because there's always a lot of campus startups running, you know, all over the place. That's number one. Number two, if you want your own idea, you don't have it yet, we offer ideation sessions every quarter. Every quarter there's an open ideation session. You can come and you can sit with other people. How do I come up with an idea? And then you work with that. If you do have your own idea, or if you're in a specific area, we run innovation challenges every quarter as well. So you can apply for the innovation challenges. We get a lot of ideas in there as well when it comes to solving different specific problems that we pose every quarter. And then, of course, if you do have your own idea, or when you have your own idea, not if you do, when, then you can apply to us. And then, as I said, you can either come in and just be a part of the process and get support from a coach, or you can apply for, let's say, the pre-incubation program, which is our sort of VentureLab part version of that, which opens spring and autumn. We take in about 20 projects every time, so 20 spring and 20 autumn, and then those cases together run for 1 year together in that program. And then after that, we put them into an incubator or where they want to go. So but we don't, and I know the question is asked, any extra support for international students. I mean, we don't have any specific support for international students. We support for everyone.
Everyone.
Love all, serve all, the kind of thing. You know.
And I think there, again, we need to underline the fact that most of the people that we do support are international students. What I know that they usually really appreciate when it comes to all of these startup hubs that exist connected to universities and colleges in Sweden is the fact that we do provide them with a very essential community that is the innovation community in Sweden overall. VentureLab is, for example, for all students at Lund University, which means that we kind of become a hotspot of a community where all faculties, I'm so sorry, connect to each other. So we have ideas that comes from both social sciences to technical sciences to medicine and everything like that. So they get to actually meet people, and I know a lot of them become close friends afterwards. So it's a place for them to just meet people with the same sort of interests as them, maybe not in the specific field, but with the innovation and entrepreneurship itself. And for that, I know that means a lot to them, and it becomes a support of itself. But we also have, and I know that KTH work a little bit with inspirational events as well, which becomes another sort of support. Everything we do is in English because it's supposed to be for everyone. So for example, what we do, we're going to do in about a month is our event, Believe in Your Ideas, which is exclusively for women and non-binary people, because we know that it's harder for that group to become a part of the entrepreneurship and innovation world. So we give that support, everything in English. Again, we send them away for a weekend to just be a bit inspired and become a little more confident. But then again, the most important part that we as startup hubs, I believe, can give these students are the community. So here is a network that you can hold on to, and then you can discuss stuff with. And you, if you're frustrated with your journey, talk to them because they probably have gone through the same thing. So I want to pinpoint the community a little bit extra.
I'll just second that as well, and agree with Ylva on everything. It's not a very sort of opposed panel here. Whichever university you go to in Sweden, there will be some kind of innovation office support, and most often, as soon as there's a slightly bigger university, there will be a student body as well to support you. And in most big universities, there also is a student body that also specifically works with innovation and entrepreneurship. So, you know, just come to Sweden. And I know that it. Thank you, Ylva, for saying that. Everything in English as well. I mean, the researchers are from all over the world, the students from all over the world. Everything we do is in English all the time. So you don't worry about that part. So yes, yes.
Super. Fajar, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to study here in Sweden, especially in Stockholm, because I got 2 courses that mostly work in the project. It's like a product innovation project. So the first course is product innovation, and the second course is innovations and product development. And both of those courses, we got the support from KTH Innovation, and I really like how the innovation ecosystem here in Stockholm, especially because we are studying in the class, but also get the support from KTH Innovations and any other incubators. We got a lot of insights how the innovations work here in Sweden, and also we got insight how we can develop our idea, we can develop our technology, and we also get a lot, especially me from Indonesia, which are the country with not consider about sustainability things. And now I already start learn about sustainability and other knowledge that I got from Sweden, especially in Stockholm. And I think it's very helpful. KTH Innovation give a lot of help to us. And I remember in our first project called Rentini, it's like a circular business model for baby stroller. Especially KTH Innovation want to help us, but because of my team is from Sweden, most of them is Swedish, they are not really considering to continue that project because they have another like considerations. But I really want to continue that project, but it's not possible. And then the second idea is about the we build your shoes. Basically, it's make like a sustainable running shoes made from the 3D printing. we are not continuing that idea because we are now in the master thesis project, but KTH Innovation and KTH, and especially in Stockholm, it's very like supporting students for making an idea and developing startup.
Super. You got a lot of experiences already, Fajar.
Yeah. I think it's like 2 years. It's a very wonderful experience here in Stockholm.
Yeah.
I'll add one thing there to what Fajar is saying as well, is that one thing that I've learned as I've been, when I was pre-pandemic traveling the world, was that one of the best things you can do to get not only startups, not get a good job, if you're going to study in Sweden and then go back to wherever you're coming from, is to come to Sweden, study at the university, get a degree there, and work the network, get into the community, as Ylva was talking about, get to know people, try or sharpen your teeth on trying to start something and see how that goes. And sometimes it doesn't even matter if it works or not, but you learn something along the way. And then you can go back, to wherever you came from, and you have new knowledge, new networks. And I know for a fact that, because India, I've been traveling India a lot. I know a fact that people who have studied in Swedish universities like Lund, Chalmers, and KTH, when they're employing people in India, they're looking for other people who have studied in Lund, Chalmers, and KTH, because they know that they've studied the same thing. It's kind of a quality check for them for that. So it's an incredible way of building your network, of building your skills, and even if your startup doesn't succeed as you try it, I can promise you learn something along the way. And we don't have we don't have like the course that gives give credit, so we don't have like an educational role per se, but we know, and we take that very seriously, that we need to be educational in the way we work. Because for every logotype that we can say that is successful, here's a wall of logotypes, there's another 3 or 4 or 5 that didn't work, that failed during the process, but the people learned something on the way. And then they phone us 3 to 4 or 5 years later and say, hey, I've just started my 3rd startup, and this one's going like a rocket. And then we know that we did a good thing as well. So for us, it's a lot about the whole learning experience and community and building networks. The strength, your strength is in your network.
Yeah, super. Yeah, I would agree with you. Like international students who study to new country, they would first maybe look for a friend or a community, of course, to they want to do something, but then the community helps. It will of course support them. And also the one that Ylva mentioned before, I want to highlight that. I think it was also I should try to recall that the other one. Now I lost my words. I'll go back to that, but I agree with all of you guys. Consider Sweden for studying a startup. And I'm going to the next question from a funding perspective. Like students who want to start a startup, they usually look for financial support as well, other than communities and programs, of course. Can you share maybe like the access that they could help to get a financial support, like venture capitals, angels, or government fund, or even private equity that you have?
Yeah, I can start here. So start from the beginning, that I know what I know from KTH as well. At LU here, everything we do is free. So that's the first step, that you don't really have to pay anything to start your own idea when you do it connected to the university. You correct me if I'm wrong here, Donnie, but so that's the very first thing. Like when you just start out, if you just have an idea and you want to start to work on it, you will do that with all our support, business advisors, incubator, community, sessions, workshops, all that kind of stuff is for free. But then we have here at VentureLab at Lund University, we have stipends and grants with smaller amounts of money that students can apply to make it easier to continue your work with your idea. For example, we have something called leapfrogs here, which is that you basically get money so you don't have to work during the summer. Instead, you can only work with your idea and you don't have to think about stuff like rent or anything else like that. But when you start to go into the next level, you're starting to really test your idea and you need more funding. In Sweden overall, there are funds and help to get. Everything from Vinnova, which is the government innovation office, and Almi, which is helping startups and businesses to get off the ground. So there are possibilities along the way. Although I always usually tell students that the first thing that you will do is not to look for funding. It's actually, for me, a common myth for students that think they are much further with their idea than they are. So what is really good, and what I want to like kind of push on a little bit, is that usually when you start working with an idea connected to your university, the help that you can get is for free. So don't rush into anything. Get the help that you're given and work and mold your idea, because one of the most common issues that I see is that people think that they are ready to become investment ready the first thing they do, and trust the process instead. There are programs both here at the Lund University, as you heard before, there are programs at KTH. And what they usually do is that they help you become investor ready. So when you are at that point, you already kind of know a little bit where you can turn to get more financial support. At the university here in Lund, we also have a holding company that can also invest in your idea when they think that you're ready and if it fits our vision and beliefs, of course. But there are financial help to get, but that's usually not the first step.
Okay. Donnie, you want to add on that?
Nodding here again. You said one thing, which was, you said a lot of things that were good, Ylva, but one thing specifically, trust the process. You know, we've built something that we know works in a certain order, and you know, when you go through a program and you get to the end of that and you become, as was mentioned, investor ready, then there will be investors looking at you, because the investors come to our universities because they know everything that's coming out. So trust the process. Everything is for free. Another thing which can be mentioned here is there's a law in Sweden called the professor's privilege, which means that it's specifically originally connected to research, that if you do research at a Swedish university, you own the rights to your research yourself. But the Swedish universities in general do a very generous interpretation of that law, meaning that any idea that you come up with at the university, you own yourself. So the university won't own anything of your idea. We won't take anything of your idea. We offer free, no strings attached support for you and your idea to hopefully help you create something great in the world, which people have a hard time getting their head around sometimes, but that's how it works. It's for free, and we help you and your idea progress. And then when you get to the point that you are investor ready, don't worry, then we all have a large network of angels and investors, and we have pitch days and demo days, and that setup is all there. So that part is, so I will definitely echo Ylva on the whole. There's a misconception, and this is something not only, I mean, in Sweden as well, but especially in entrepreneurs who are starting out in their first sort of journey, is that, okay, if I only get $1 million, I'll be set. And that's like sort of, then the $1 million is the key point. But so let's put the $1 million thing aside for now, and let's talk about your business idea. And let's talk about who's the customer, who wants to pay for this, hopefully more than once, and go through that process. And then when we have that determined, then we can start to understand how much money do we need until we make money? How much money is that? How long time is that? Where do we find that money? And then don't go to the hardest, worst money first thing you do as in investors, taking a chunk of your company and owning it and controlling you. That's the last thing to do. There's a number of softer money like grants and stipends along the way that we can work with, so you don't give away chunks of your company the first thing you do. So just Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah.
And for the cynics out there, there is, of course, a reason why the university does not take ownership of your ideas. It looks amazing for us here in Sweden and our universities to come to be the one that has supported these amazing ideas that comes out of you, the students. So we want to help you, first of all, because we who work here love what we do. And there's nothing more exciting than to see a student's idea start from just a little acorn and grow more and more and more. But of course, it's so much fun to be able to brag also about this, that all these ideas, they are able to grow due to the fact that everything that we offer is free. And we want you to succeed. So there's no reason for us to try to hold back investments. We do it for a reason.
Super. Fajar, have you tried before to access any of the financial support that is available?
First, I want to tell you, I totally agree with Donnie and Ylva because I started my project from 2016. I remember it's from like my research project in university. I do it the microbubble generator research like for 3 years. I do it with the social project. Basically, it's if you don't know about microbubble generator, basically it's like an aerator in your aquarium. If it's making a big bubble, but our device making like micro-sized diameter bubbles and increase the dissolved oxygen in the water. And fortunately, it can increase the health of the fish, and the fish can be growth faster and growth bigger than the common aerator. And then we do a social project in Indonesia, in Yogyakarta. And after that, we see that there's some traction from the customer and fish farmers that they are asking where we can buy this product, where we can try out this product, and we see that opportunity, and then we try to make a startup from that. And we don't look for any funding first, because I think it's our goal is want to help in Indonesian fish farmer first, but after that we try to apply for some competitions and grants, and we win some competition and get some funding. And from that, we develop our project further. And I agree with Donnie and Ylva. It's all about like making the good idea first, establish a good team first, and then all along the way, the funding and everything and support and everything will come to your idea and your team, I think. Yeah.
Super. Amazing answers. I really want to talk more about that, but we should go to the next question now. Okay. I think these will be more into Fajar questions. Like, what do you think is special about studying in Sweden and trying to develop your existing startup here?
Yeah, I have told it before that I like the innovation ecosystem here, that how KTH innovations really integrate with KTH itself, with the course in the class, and how like KTH innovation it's very easy to approach KTH innovation and a lot of company here in Sweden compared to Indonesia. I email a lot of CEO and the director of the company, and they reply directly and give a lot of insight to us regarding our project. And now I'm working with a startup in Indonesia called Tunas Farm. It's a vertical farming startup, and we collaborated with the IVL, Swedish Environmental Research Institute. I like how it's very easy to communicate with each other. I think it's like very easy to approach how to connect Indonesian startup and Swedish innovation ecosystem. I'm not really expect that, but it's happened now.
Nice.
I think that's quite an interesting experience for me.
Super. Yeah, I was clapping my hands as well, like like here. Ylva or Donnie, you want to add something on that or confirm something?
I think in general, I think there's a general sort of atmosphere of let's fix this. I think we're here to help people fix things. We have 17 global goals that we've agreed upon that are important to fix, with 169 sub goals. And I think that there's a general feel, that the general atmosphere of, let's fix this. And if anybody, who has a good idea? You over there, come over here. Okay, bring on the idea and let's fix this. And I think that is something that is in general something that has happened the last 15, 20 years in Sweden a lot, when it comes to the startup and the entrepreneurship sort of scene as well. And it's really sort of also changed the universities as you know, if you look 20 years ago, if you compare any of the universities in Sweden as what they are today, they are much more entrepreneurial. They're much more sort of focused on helping. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, I think when they did a survey on students and they asked sort of how many of you want to consider starting your own business, and it was like 10-15%. And then they did the same survey like last year or something, and it was, you know, the crazy difference in numbers of how many actually considered starting their own company as a way of making a career as an engineer.
Super.
So
yeah.
And I've actually been an exchange student myself. So when I saw this, I also tried to reflect a little bit on the second part of this question as well, because I also know I did a international master's here at Lund University when I studied, and what I also know is that it's always a little scary to do international year or years in another country, and the Swedish culture is sometimes a little bit strange, I know, to people coming here. We are usually very nice when you first meet us, and then the exchange student usually has to take the next step if anything's going to happen with the Swedish students. What I think is really fun, though, working with the startup part of the university is that the environment here, I feel, is much more open and people want the community. And I'm not saying that Swedish students does not want to meet the international students, but the way we socialize is usually very different to other parts of the world. And it could be good to know that from the beginning, that the sense of if the Swedish students haven't interacted a lot with other cultures before, they will want you to take the first step. And that's a big responsibility to put on someone who just arrived to this country. So I would say that the startup world and sphere here in Sweden is a huge bonus if you want to do an exchange year overall, because then you will meet people that will greet you instantly. So it's a great way to interact and become a part of the community in Sweden instantly.
I'll take that and I'll run with that last one. And I say that the best way of getting into the community, if you're an international exchange student, is to head for these startup communities, because they are more used to bringing people on board from all over the place. So that is probably, that's probably your best bet anyway. If you're heading into, say, Sweden, then I'd say that is that's an even, as Ylva said, an even more open community that is more used to that. So I definitely say it's probably the better way anyway. And Sweden, one thing I've noticed with Sweden as opposed to the rest of the world when I've been traveling, and when I lived in the US, and I did a comparison between the Sweden and the US, because in the US you have a very, very sort of first open minded, it's very polite, very open, and everybody's how you doing kind of thing. And then you come home to Sweden, everybody sort of looks like they're on their way to a funeral all the time. But the comparison being that in the US, I realized that there's, it's a very soft shell, but a very hard center, because the society is kind of, hard there and individualistic. In Sweden, on the other way, it's kind of the opposite. You have a very kind of a hard shell, and it's a very sort of like that. It can be perceived as cold if you're coming in from abroad, but it has a very soft center, because the community and the society in general is built on a very much sort of, community approach and us, a much bigger we and us than just me. So but it's you just understand that there's a surface you need to work on.
Yeah, never forget that you'll never be alone if you're studying in Sweden and trying to create something new. Amazing discussion. I would say that I believe that there are still many things that we can discuss, but we have time restriction. We can move on to the Q&A session now. I have gathered several questions from students and will begin answering them. The first question is how to choose the right university that supports my plan to create a startup from your perspective. Who wants to start? Yeah, Ylva.
as we have said over and over again, all the universities in Sweden have some sort of work with innovation and entrepreneurship. So here, I think it would be very important just to read up on what kind of university that you're interested in. For example, what kind of program are you interested in actually applying to? So what would be your major or minor or whatever you're applying for? And then see, okay, and how well does that program in that city connect to my hope of starting a startup as well? And there's also different sort of universities around Sweden. So what kind of experience do you want? You have, for example, the universities up in Stockholm, you get the biggest city in Sweden, and you have what I would believe one of the most cultural and most happening city in Sweden. I'm from Stockholm myself, but then you also have the very traditional universities like Uppsala or Lund that has a little different sort of student life, I would say. So it's a lot about what do you want out of your year. A lot of them have the innovation angle. Some of them have a stronger angle when it comes to innovation and entrepreneurship. So start with those, like who has the innovation part that I want, and from there look what they can offer you over that and what fits your profile, because you will find one university that fits you out of the many, I promise you.
Amazing.
And I totally agree with that, because that's the first and foremost, what do you want to study? And what kind of student life do you want to have? As Ylva said, Stockholm is the biggest city in Stockholm. It's the capital that by numbers, we're probably the biggest student city in Sweden. However, you won't see it. If you go to Lund or Umeå or Jönköping, you'll find a much tighter student community and a student body that will be, that will carry you in a different way, because in a smaller city, you notice it a lot more. So, sometimes in Stockholm, we can be kind of envious of the student life that you can find in Lund or in Umeå or Luleå or Jönköping, because you want, it's in Stockholm, it's sort of kind of spread kind of thin, because Stockholm is so big anyway. So it's all depends on what kind of student time you want as well, and what you want to study. You will have some kind of support at any university you go to. You're looking at, I'd say, the top two in Sweden when it comes to support in Lund and KTH. But I can, the list goes on. Luleå is great. Jönköping is great. Chalmers, of course, on the West Coast in automotive, and then everything when it comes to the sea. And you figure out what you want to do and what kind of student life you want, and you will find one that suits you.
Yeah. I hope everyone here watching is trying to reflect themselves now, like, what do you want? And then you can look which one is the best for you guys. I'll go to the next question directly. Will the experience of starting a startup help me to get a job in a startup after study? Any true story?
Oh my God, yes. And I can take this not even as a student that started a startup, but I became a part of this community when I got this job. And the network that I've gained in Sweden and internationally due to the fact that I now work with the startup world, it's just amazing. And I've started to contact my other friends that are good administrators and project leaders, and like, the startup world needs you. We have the ideas, but sometimes we need the people just to know how to get stuff, I'm not going to swear, stuff done. Because this ecosystem, like we talked about before, it is amazing, and it's people that want something and they are driven and they look for new people constantly. So and I can also say for a fact that I know that a lot of employers, even if you have a startup that doesn't succeed, having that on your transcript, that you know what it is to start a startup and how that process looks, is a great thing to have on your application, because it shows that you're driven. It shows you that you know how the business world works, and you know what it takes for a business to succeed, even if you're, in some sense, may have failed. So it's a great thing to have for multiple reasons.
I'll rephrase the question, and I'll say, will having tried to start a startup help me get a job?
Yeah.
Yes, it will. It will, and as because one of the first lessons you learn is my strength. The strength is in my network. You learn that you have to take help from people. You have to network, and by building your network, you get to know people. You get to open doors. That's the whole part of it. And employers also want people who are entrepreneurial and driven and can run with projects. I mean, we get called by companies that want to help get their employees become more entrepreneurial. So yes, it will help you in any way. And if you're here for 2 years doing a master, I cannot think of any other better way of spending your time than trying to get something going or joining a startup or just because it's such a incredible learning process. And hey, by chance, you might even help save the world, and then it will be worth it.
Super. I have the last question now. I'll ask Fajar now. Okay, Fajar, the last question from the audience: how to balance your time to study and developing the startup itself?
It's quite challenging actually, because here in KTH, some of people thought that it's pretty easy and chill to study in KTH, but in reality, it's not actually. It's very difficult to manage time, and because the pace to study in KTH, especially in Stockholm, is very different, because it's very we only have 3 months for one period, and I should manage how sometimes I should study overnight, because in the morning I attend the course and the class, and the afternoon until the evening. Usually I also attend the pitching competition or something like that. And in the night I just can study at that time, but it's very challenging. But that's the life of the student. You should manage your time 24 hours with really good management. But it's very fun to collaborate with the other students, the other people, and it's very really fun to learn about a new culture here in Stockholm, in Sweden.
Nice. So it's all about time management, right?
Yeah,
it's not easy, but you learn something from it as well.
Working harder than the other people, I think it's the best things you should do here if you want to study at the same time and manage your startup. Especially I manage startup in Indonesia. It's quite challenging, and also I try to manage my time, how to meet my team in Indonesia, which is 6 hour different time. So it's very challenging to manage the time.
Yeah. Good luck. Keep spiritful. I would say that all of you have answers. All of the questions very amazing. We're coming to the closing session, but before we close the session, I would give each one of you maybe 1 minute to say your final thought or key points for the international students that are watching and considering to study abroad. Ylva, maybe you can start.
Of course. I really hope that you got some answers from this. And what I want to leave with is basically that the support system here in Sweden and the universities in here in Sweden really want to see you, and we want to help you to work with your ideas. And if you have any sort of questions, I know that all of our information you can usually find on both the university's webpage or our individual like KTH Innovation or VentureLab. So you can also always contact us as well. But I really hope that you find this inspiring, because we really want to meet you.
Thanks. Fajar.
Yeah, just very short, closing for students in Indonesia, especially in Asia, come here to Sweden, because here in the ecosystem for study and innovation ecosystem is very good. And I hope Indonesian government and also Swedish government give more scholarship to Indonesian students to come here in Sweden to get more a good and new knowledge and a new experience for their master study.
Super. The last but not least, Donnie.
No, thank you for the session, and it's been great listening to my panel colleagues here as well. And echoing what has been said before, I just say that Sweden is a tiny country in the world. However, we do have a history of punching above our weight, and I'd say that we really want to fix things. We really want to help fix things. So I will actually encourage people to come to Sweden and study and learn something good. And if you want to stay here, or if you want to go back, You know, as long as you do something to move the world in a better direction, it's all for good. And if we can help you, which we do for free and happily, to create a startup to accelerate that even more, then that's even better. But you know, we all need to step up to the plate and pitch in, because the world needs us.
Super. Yeah, amazing closing quotes. I would say we finally come to the end of the session. I'd like to thank you once again, Donnie, Ylva, and Fajar, for the informative and interesting discussion today. And also thank you for all the participants for your participation. As a reminder, before we close the session, the Global Study Abroad Fair is happening outside of this room, so you can get as much of information about the universities that you're interested in and chat with the representative directly. So don't forget to visit their booth, and we have our own study abroad booth as well, so don't forget to visit us. On behalf of the Keystone Education Group, thank you very much everyone for joining us today, and see you in other sessions. Bye.